Hey, what's up? Generic Jeeper here. So, I wanted to tell you about why you should never, ever loan your Jeep to your brother. So this past fall, I felt pretty good about myself. I had just completed a almost 6,000 mile road trip in my TJ. I went to Moab, Utah, ran a bunch of trails. I stopped on the way and hit up Imogene Pass and Holy Cross City Trail in Colorado. In Moab, we did Fins and Things and Hell's Revenge. Some mashed potato trail, a couple other trails out there. So Jeep did great. Drove all the way there, air conditioning, blasting all the way there and back, no problems. So I get back, feeling pretty much on top of the world that this Jeep that I had just taken apart and gone through and swapped in a front axle had just made it on this huge road trip with no issues. I've been back less than a week, and my brother says, hey, my car's got an issue, needs to go in the shop, can I borrow your Jeep? So my Jeep's not my daily driver. I usually drive a Grand Cherokee. So I've got two vehicles. So I say, yeah, no problem. Let me swing on by and I'll drop it off and you can drop me back at my house and you can use my Jeep while your car goes in and gets fixed. So I guess maybe I should step back because I said I had no issues on the Moab trip. My one issue was I had a driveline vibration coming from the front drive shaft above 70 miles an hour. So the drive shaft didn't have any vibration before I switched to 488s, but with the 488s, my dog is always insane. There's a sidewalk like 100 yards away, and apparently without getting a permit from her, you can't walk up and down it. So I had this driveline vibration above 70, which isn't a huge deal, except for we were in states where the speed limit was 80, and I wanted to do 80. So I unbolted the drive shaft at the front axle and strung it up and tied it to the frame with wire for the 2,000 mile drive back from Utah to Michigan. Swing over to my brother's house. We have some pizza, some beer, hang out, and he says he was going to move my Jeep into the yard because occasionally it'll drop a drip of oil. He's got a brand new concrete driveway. He didn't want any oil on it, so I said no problem. So he parked it up in his yard, and he pulls the imaginary parking brake, I guess. I don't know. There's a parking brake in there, but it doesn't do anything. It's not hooked up to anything anymore. And the next morning, he gets in and he goes to work. I go to work, and I get a phone call from him. Well, apparently when he left, and he's not too super mechanical, right? He put the parking brake down. It doesn't do anything. I don't know, maybe something. And decided that he needed four-wheel drive. Now, I had neglected to mention to him, absolutely under no circumstances should you put it in four-wheel drive. But I didn't think that he would need to, as he had a 15-mile commute to work on paved dry roads in September. But for whatever reason, he pulled the shifter back into 4 high, thinking that that would turn another parking brake off or help him go or something. Well, that engaged my front drive shaft to start spinning, which was tied to the frame, not down to the front axle, which probably stayed in that wire for a little bit and made some clinking and some clanking, but eventually it broke through. And mind you, he doesn't stop, doesn't go, hey, what's that? What's banging? What's, sounding like, a war going on underneath the floorboards? What is hitting the floorboard like midgets with hammers? I don't know. He just keeps going. And my house to his house is about 6 miles. He drove it all the way to my house. And when he got there, the front yoke had fallen off. It was just the CV shaft and the main shaft. And the main shaft that had the splines on the end, the splines were beat flat practically. They had hit the frame, they had hit the oil pan. One of the upper control arm on the driver's side was V-shaped from taking a shot from the drive shaft. The oil pan had like 3 big dents in it, some that were like, I'd say, 1/2 inch deep. Somehow it didn't rip the oil pan open. So anyways, he calls me in a panic and he's like, hey, your Jeep's blowing up, I don't know what's wrong. I parked it in your driveway and I'm gonna catch an Uber. And I'm thinking, what the hell could have gone wrong? I just drove it 5,000 miles. But when I got home, I could see that that had happened, and I looked into the driver's compartment, and sure enough, it was in 4-wheel drive, and I know I didn't drive there in 4-wheel drive. So I sent him a text back. I'm like, hey, did you by chance put it in 4-wheel drive? And he goes, how would one do that? So yeah, maybe if you have any doubts, don't loan your Jeep out. Even the family can cost it. Anyways, that's my story about the time my brother borrowed my Jeep, wrecked my front drive shaft, busted my control arm, almost ripped a hole in my oil pan. And I think that's it, but I guess I'll find out more when I drive it some more in the spring. Because it's Michigan here, there's salt all over the roads, and my 20-year-old Jeep doesn't see the roads. So, hope you all had a good one. I did too. If you like the video, share and subscribe if you want. Peace out.